Hello everyone, this is your weekly dose of motivation, featuring...
But you're really talking about the most important concept in lasting change, identity. We all define ourselves in certain ways, and most of us defined ourselves years ago, and we haven't done an update. And now you're in an environment where you're constantly told how bad it is, how terrible it is, so that stimulates the old part of the human brain, the fight or flight mechanism, the part of your brain that's always looking for what's wrong so you can hide from it, or you can fight it, or you can freeze and hope it doesn't notice, or you can run from it. And so that part of our brain's never gonna make you happy. It's an important part. There's no saber-toothed tiger for us to run from anymore or fight, right? Not for most people. But now we get that about what are people saying about me online, or do I have enough money in a country that even if you have very little money in America, even if you're in quote unquote a poor environment, I provide 100 million meals a year. I'm almost to 1 billion meals now. I'm at 825 million meals to give you an idea in the last 7 years. So I'm into helping everyone I possibly can, but you gotta help them here and here too. So I use the food as the excuse to get into here and start showing people what's possible. And I think we're in a place right now where a lot of people are in this learned helplessness and they don't realize, if as an identity, if identity is how you've identified yourself and you see yourself as a procrastinator, why? Because you procrastinated so many times and disappointed, you don't want to be disappointed. So now you're a procrastinator, you're no longer disappointed. You feel certain, you'll never have your goals, but you feel certain. That's what most people do in their life.
When we asked our original participants in our study, hundreds of them, we said, you're 80 years old now, when you look back on your life, what do you regret the most? More than anything, many of them said, I wish I hadn't spent so much time worrying about what other people thought. And that's just what you're naming. So then the question is, well, what could we do to change that? And I think what I've learned more and more in my own life is simply to check in more with myself about what are the things that raise my energy when I engage in them, and what are the things that lower my energy.
I play baseball. You know what I really wanted? I wanted to be happier. Like, if you really get down to it, I wanted to be happier. And I thought, well, if I make professional baseball, then I'll be happier. And I think a lot of people, they think they want these things, but if you really strip it down, at least for me, I just wanted to be happier. I wanted to be more fulfilled. And I thought baseball would get me that because these guys look pretty happy.
Yeah.
And it was a childhood dream that I carried with me into adulthood. But as I became a little bit older, bro, I was like, you know what really fulfills me? You know what really makes me happy? Not hitting a round ball with a wooden bat over someone's head. Yeah. It's actually making a difference for another human being. And to be honest with you, it shocked me because I really had never even conceived that would be something that would fulfill me. Why would that fulfill me? Working with kids or no one knows. It's not on TV. Nobody broadcasts it. You don't get a lot of money for doing it. Why would that be a dream? Yeah. Yet it's the thing that filled me up more than anything I've ever done in my life to this day.
You talk to Rick Rubin. So let me give his example first. When he has a musician who's stuck, great musician, but they've developed performance anxiety about songwriting for whatever reason. He will say, do you think you could get me one sentence or maybe 2 words that you like by tomorrow? That's it, 2 words. Can you do that for me? And he gives them a micro assignment. Best writing advice that I probably ever received, and I've received a lot of good writing advice, but I can get myself really wound up because I expect perfection to flow from my fingertips like magic, and that never happens. So then I beat the hell out of myself, and that makes me less likely to put pen to paper in the first place. I'll procrastinate, which is why if you write 2 crappy pages per day, you've won the day. That's a successful writing day. And that does a few things. It helps you to maintain enthusiasm because you're constantly winning. And of course, on many days, you'll write more than 2. You'll get to 2, then you go to 5 or to 10. But if you're on an off day, you write 2 crappy pages, even if you never use it, it's a successful day. And that, I think, for longer term projects and extended creativity is really important. The counterintuitive pairing of low expectations leading to higher performance is really odd.
When I was a pretty young man, I'm in a gym and Sylvester Stallone was in the same gym as I was. He and I just the two of us in this very private gym. It was a pretty surreal experience because in the middle of it, I'm working out with Rocky and we're doing the Rocky workout. This is pretty cool. But every single lift we would do, if we had to do 8, he'd convince me, he'd go, you do 8, and I'd go 7, 8. He'd go, 1 more. I'm like, 1 more. And every single rep was 1 more. And I walked out when we were done, thanked him, and we've become friends since then. And I remember thinking to myself, that's a great metaphor for life. If you're gonna max out your life, it's 1 more. And so it's 1 more phone call, 1 more I love you to my children, 1 more reach out to one of my friends, 1 more rep in the gym. So I have this adage in my life where I just always do 1 more. And ironically, I've linked my self-confidence to keeping that 1 promise. Because I think self-confidence is the process of keeping promises you make to yourself. And that's a promise I can control, right? I can make 1 more text to a friend at night. I can tell my wife 1 more time I love her before we go to sleep. I can walk in 1 more time and do my prayers and meditation with my daughter. And that 1 more in my life has sort of become part of my identity. And I have this weird thing in my mind that I think that if I'm willing to do things most people aren't willing to do, perhaps I can produce results that are uncommon for most people. Yes. And that's the 1 more.
But if you set, let's say, a thermostat in this room at 78 degrees and the temperature drops far enough, something's gonna happen. Because the computer's gonna go, hey, you're at 78 degrees, what are you doing here at 68? And the heaters kick on and suddenly you get this drive. I'm sure your listeners or viewers have had this experience many times in life where finally it's not another day, I'm changing this relationship, I'm losing this weight, I'm gonna finally do something. And then you push. Now some people push and they go beyond their comfort zone, beyond what they expect, not their goals. It's what they're used to, it's their comfort zone. And let's say that 68 degrees is where they're used to financially. It's not what they want, or their relationship, or spiritually, or physically. And they grow to 88, 98, 99 degrees. Suddenly the brain goes, hey, what are you doing here? You're not a 99 degreer. And then all of a sudden the heaters stop and you lose your drive. And if that's not about, the air conditioners kick on and you start to sabotage and you go, what happened to my life? So identity is the #1 thing I work to change with people, to expand it, not to get rid of it, but expand your own sense of who you really are and what you're capable of. And people think they're gonna get identity by, when people say to me, I have no self-esteem, I hate that word. It's so overused and abused. I don't have any self-esteem because when I was growing up, my parents said these terrible things and those terrible things. And I said, isn't it convenient you only remember those things? They said a million things, but suddenly you've honed in on those. But let's get real. Someone can tell you your whole life you're a piece of crap, but you can say, screw you, read between the lines and make your life work. Someone can tell you your whole life you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you're the smartest person in the world, and you don't believe it. Because self-esteem doesn't come from what people say about you. Self-esteem is earned within yourself. It's esteem for yourself, which only comes by doing things that are incredibly difficult, and then your brain goes, this is who I am. The reason I've done firewalks for years, I used to do skydiving, but it's hard to get 30,000 people in the middle of the air above New York in the middle of the night. But the reason I did these metaphors was because when someone does something they once thought was difficult or impossible, and they get the other side, their brain goes, if I can get myself to do this, what else can I get myself to do? It changes their identity. When your identity expands, your whole world expands.
Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the original channel, subscribe to our channel if you like the video and leave a like. Comment below what you think about what you just heard. And as always, stay motivated. See you tomorrow.
One thing that occurs to me is that oftentimes in our life, our dreams don't show up in the package we thought they'd show up in.
Oh, so good.
And it just occurred to me as you were saying it, that was not a dream that in any way I thought would be a package I would uncover. Oftentimes, even who you end up eventually falling in love with might not be the person you pictured when you were 10 years old or 14 years old.
Definitely, yeah.
Dreams show up. Even my other careers, other businesses, they weren't things I really thought I would be doing, right? They show up in unique packages, but everything happens for you and not to you. And I just fundamentally believe that. And I grew up, my dad's my best friend now, but my dad was an alcoholic while I was a child. And ironically, my dad's drinking in many ways, his alcoholism happened for me and not to me. Although it's so hard to understand that when you're a little boy and you have all this chaos and anxiety in your life, and fear is what having an alcoholic family member can do for you. But one thing I give you 3 things it gave me. Number 1, when my dad would come home, when he would, I'd have to deduce really quickly. I have to look at him and be present. Which dad am I getting? Am I getting happy, sober dad who wants to play with me? Or am I getting drunk, kind of angry, disconnected, mean dad? And so I built these skills as a young man because of my dad's drinking, of being present with people and assessing them, really. And that's a unique thing that I developed because my dad drank. Second thing that happened was my dad got sober. He's at an AA meeting. I'm now living back at his house as a grown man. And he comes back from the AA meeting, first AA meeting, first sobriety meeting, and says, hey, I got you a job. You're getting off the bed tomorrow morning. Get down to McKinley Home for Boys. I said, what is that? He goes, I don't know, but I got you a job at $6 an hour. Show up 6 a.m. I walk in the door at that 6 a.m. meeting. I said, I'm here for the job. What is it? I said, I have no idea. My dad sent me here. This is where my life changes. Grown man, college degree. My dad sent me here. What are you supposed to be doing here? I said, I have no idea. Come back when you know. Do you even know who referred you? I said, well, his name's Tim, I think my dad said. I get to the door and they're like, come back. And I said, well, I think he's an alcoholic because he was at an AA meeting with my dad last night. And they go, oh, drunk Tim, Cottage 8. I'm like, holy crap. And I walk down to Cottage 8 and all the boys, there's 10 boys there, all 8 to 10 years old, getting ready for school. And I open the door and the whole room stops and they all stop and stare at me. And little did I know in that moment, my life would change. I became their father, their big brother. I went trick-or-treating. I was there for Christmas. I'd do their homework with them. As a young man, athlete, full of ego, I was humbled that I needed to serve. I'm getting chills. I had to serve these boys. And the third thing my dad's drinking did for me is it equipped me for that moment. Because these boys all had the same anxiety. They were wards of the court. Their parents were dead, incarcerated, or had molested them. And so although I didn't have that kind of anxiety, I knew what it was like to be a little 8-year-old boy and be fearful and be scared. And I could connect with them based on that. And so ironically, the entire time, God, the universe, life was equipping and preparing me for that moment. If my dad's not an alcoholic, I don't learn to assess people. He's not at the AA meeting that refers me, and I can't connect with these boys when I get there. And so eventually in life, the dots all connect if you stay vigilant and you stay after it. And in that moment, my life changed.
Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the original channel, subscribe to our channel if you like the video and leave a like, comment below what you think about what you just heard, and as always, stay motivated. See you tomorrow!